Is this?
Hold it up first.
Okay, here we go. I'm Craig Bittinger, and I'd like to make a few remarks today for the entire Bittinger family. My wife Pat's here today. My brother Steve is in Australia, and my father Stanley is 97 years old in a nursing home in Uvalde, Texas. So, and they asked me to stand up today and make a few remarks. And Neil Morris also asked to be remembered. So, we first met Gill when he was a student at Texas A&I in Kingsville. Gill had a major impact on our family. We were living in Kingsville looking for some kind of family activity, and my father heard about the Texas A&I Speleology Society, so we decided, hey, let's go give it a try. So it grew into a lifelong passion for us. My brother Steve and I, rather than going to the regular high school events, would go caving. And so it got us into the thought of going to the university and kind of gave us a boost in our lives. So, Gill was at my first cave meeting at Texas A&I in Kingsville. I was 13 years old in 1967. And John Kreidler and Gill were up front at that meeting. Gill seemed larger than life in his cowboy hat, adorned with a ring-tailed cat's tail. He had on his cowboy boots and Levi's. There was a charisma that drew in the people present. He had something special to say to each person, and his enthusiasm for caving was contagious. He gave me the nickname of Little Shit. This name made me feel that I was an accepted part of the group. He had a special gift of making each person feel that he was interested in them and making them his friend. Gill made the effort to take high school age teenagers, including me, my brother Steve, and Neil Morris, along on his caving trips. His leadership changed our lives and made us better people. There was one trip we made to Cave of the Lakes where he showed us how to use a carbide light. And he made it fun. Rather than just pour the water in the top, he would take it in his mouth and So at Frio Bat Cave, I was looking up at the bats. All of a sudden, plop. I was spitting. Gill said, you know, there's something about biology. When you look up, your mouth tends to open. I've always kept that in mind. So Gill always thought that you should be organized and prepared as a caver. So we'd go on those Bustamante trips, he'd pull into the parking lot, and he would get out of the car, and within about 2 minutes, he would hit the trail. And if you were not organized and you didn't have your gear ready, good luck. There's the trail. Find it somewhere up that mountain. So, he believed in having fun in everything he did. At Carter Valley, he showed us going swimming when it was 30 degrees outside was possible. So we kind of bared it all there, and anyway, ended up with some lifelong friends. He was the high priest of Ostotal. So there was one memorable party in Buda, Texas, where he was baptizing people with some Ostotal waters. And they were passing around those hors d'oeuvres of mushrooms, and oh my goodness, I talked to several people later, they said, that party changed my whole life.
Andy grubbed and Freddie Moore and I picked those.
Gill was my friend and my mentor. As a 13-year-old boy, Gill was my hero. He had qualities I wish that I could have. Following his example, I learned to face my fears and not take life too seriously. So I can easily picture Gill on the other side. He's sitting around a campfire with some of his other friends, and they're planning a caving trip and a big party. So that's my picture of Gill. Thank you.
Paul Duncan, I started caving at A&I in 1969, and Gill was the live wire. He drove the whole thing. He's tracking everybody.
Can't hear you.
He's tracking everybody.
Right in your mouth.
Closer.
Yeah.
Yes, seriously.
At 69, started caving with him, and he just had a profound influence on me. I was there at the beach party where he blew himself up. Wow. He was on orders to go to Vietnam, and we were throwing a big party for him. So he was filling up plastic trash cans with acetylene and oxygen,
There you got it.
putting them out in the sand and shooting flaming arrows into them. He was holding one like this, filling it up, and I was standing right here, and I thought, that doesn't look like a good idea. And I turned this way, and blam! And I turned back around, and he was up against his truck like this, no shirt, and there were little blood vessels just appearing all over his chest.
Plastic in his face.
Yep, and in his face. So Tom Wright and I threw him in the back of the truck and took him to the base, to the ER at the base, and then we went to the ER at Memorial Hospital. I think you went in, Clark Lilly, one of them went in, and they looked at his ears and said, yeah, your drums are busted, there's nothing we can do here, that'll be $50. Looked at me and said, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. I didn't have an eardrum blown out, but it healed on its own. We spent the night at my mother's house that night. Many years later, I was working in Sinton, and his mother happened to be one of my patients. And that's how I found out he got shot. Did you hear that Gill got shot? She told me all about it. It was amazing to find it out that way. And she was so calm telling me about it. Like, just what she expected. She wasn't surprised. Well, when Gill went into Arbridge, I retired. And I came to see him, and he was barely able to answer questions. He could answer yes or no, maybe a few words, but he couldn't carry a conversation. And we started taking him out on drives, and he clearly enjoyed it, and we really enjoyed it. We had it to ourselves. And we would drive up, and we'd say we're going to go see someplace. And we'd drive up to an intersection, and he'd say, turn right here. And he'd look at me and say, you know you can't listen to me. He was wrong. He broke his hip twice, about a year apart. And for 3 or 4 months after he broke his hip, we couldn't take him out. We couldn't get out of the wheelchair. So I'd come and visit, and when a man can't answer a question, he can't even nod and really consistently and reply, it starts getting hard to talk to him. So I was sitting there one afternoon, and I said, Gill, I don't know what to talk about. I kind of talked about everything. And he looked right at me and he said, you're doing fine. And the TV was on. Anyway, I wasn't sure, and I said, what'd you say, Gill? He said, you're doing fine. And I said, thank you, Gill. So that's my core experiences with Gill. I'll never forget him. He was really important to my life, and I was so glad I was able to help him some at the end, because it just made me feel good to see him feel better. Because he did so much for me.